I will now speak out loud. Hello. Um, hello everybody. Some familiar usernames here. How do you guys always know when I'm on? Like, do you get a notification or something? Hello everybody. Thank you for joining me. Oh, nice, nice. Oh, the good old notification bell. I never click it, but people always tell you to do it, so thank you guys for doing it. Um, yeah, I'm back. I'm back. And thanks, Patrick. And how am I? Power of pull? Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you? Power of pull? Um, all right. Let's see what this C is saying. I am 27 and have a 56-year-old work colleague who is very keen. A lot of sexual attention and talk. I've also told her daughter I love her, not so pretty messed up situation. That is wild. So you told the daughter you're in love with her, but then like her mom is kind of like in love with you somewhat. Um, hello everybody. Thank you once again for joining me. Um, just type in the chat how you guys are doing tonight. And you can be honest, like terrible, um elated, depressed, like whatever. You could just be like totally real. Um, all right, let me answer some of these questions. So, hello, Austin. And Austin says, what is the difference between a guy who is controlling and a guy who is dominant? I feel like if a girl's upset, she'll call a guy controlling, but if she's aroused, she calls him dominant. So I think, okay, first of all, dominance can mean like a ton of different things. One of those things is controlling, okay? But there's like basically 100 different ways to use the word dominant. But let's say like in a BDSM way, if he's a dom, he might want to like control that girl completely, so controlling could come off as dominant. So I feel like if a girl is upset, she'll call a guy controlling, but if she's aroused, she calls them dominant. Well, she might still like I've seen all these TikToks where it's like a girl is basically bragging about her controlling boyfriend and how he's like so toxic, kind of like 365 days on Netflix, he's like extremely controlling, but it is dominant, and so she's aroused by it. So I mean, if she's into this kind of dominance, this kind of like controlling dominance, then she might be calling it controlling and liking it at the same time and thinking, yeah, he's controlling, but I kind of like it. However, a different girl could not really be into that kind of dominance. She might like a DDLG, like soft dom style, and then she's just going to find him like really obnoxious and controlling. So it really depends on the girl and what kind of dominance she is into, if you will. Does that make sense, Austin? Because no doubt some girls, you know, can be into somebody both controlling and dominant, but not every girl is into that. So, um, Yeah, so your thoughts? Hello, Zoramina. So then Carlos asks, how often should guys get numbers from girls? Personally, I think you should do it as often, you should try to do it as often as you feel like it. Like, if you see a girl, go up and talk to her, try to get her number. Yes, be prepared that you probably will get rejected, but that's okay because you're just developing your skills and your confidence and developing the resilience to go after what you want and not feel repressed and held back. Just so basically as often as you feel like it, Carlos, is my opinion. So Ripped Up says, why is my friend's ex-girlfriend okay with him hanging out with his friends? So his friend's ex-girlfriend. Why was my friend's ex-girlfriend okay with him hanging out with his friends and get upset at him when he did hang out? Okay, so she said she was okay with him hanging out with his friends, but then she got upset when he actually did hang out with his friends. So I'm guessing this might have been some kind of like test thing where it's like she's feeling kind of insecure, like, I don't know if my boyfriend really likes me. I don't know if he really cares. I don't know if he really, cares enough because if he did care enough, he would want to hang out with me all the time. But instead, he seems to prefer hanging out with his friends. So she might have tried to just be like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. Sure. Go hang out with your friends. Yeah, no problem." But then it's almost like a test because it's like if he actually did hang out with his friends, then it kind of proves that he chose his friends over her. So, I mean, that's a quite common situation where that could happen. So it's like a little bit of a test, you know? Because if he really cared, he would just want to be with her all the time, right? Well, that's probably her thought process. Maybe she's just annoyed that he's like always. He seemed. This guy seems to like his friends more than her. And sometimes girls are right. Like they can sense that. Okay. Sometimes no, but sometimes they're onto something, And it hurts. So. Oh, Jeffrey, thanks for answering my question. Sleepy. Nice. Settle green. Breathing at the moment. Little me. Great. Couldn't be better. Nice. Um. Edward J. Robinson says, all right. Love you, Victoria. You are so sexy too. Thanks, Edward. I've noticed when women start switching their hips really hard and walk in front of me, they want me to say hi. Advice for walking facing her? Oh, so is that kind of like how to kind of walk ahead to ask them out? Um, just be careful about this, Edward. Okay, like no doubt that, sometimes a woman will try to walk in a sexy way to flirt. But, be careful that you're not reading into something that might just be, like, her natural way of walking. Um, Because 'cause I've noticed a lot of guys are very eager to, like, sometimes read signs where they may not be. That being said, if you wanna talk to her, whether or not she wants you to say hi, you can still talk to her. You can still say hi yourself. Just don't assume, I guess, that she wants you to say hi. I guess that's the only thing that's kinda slightly irritating me. But, yeah, just, I would just kinda, like, quicken your pace and, say hi. But don't tell her that you assume that she wanted you to say hi, because that would really annoy her. Um, but yeah, what do you mean advice for walking facing her? I would just, like, walk next to her. So Pierre says, "Been dressed lately, but today I got out and got some fresh air." Fresh air, very good, Pierre. Eric is concerned. I'm curious why you're concerned, Eric. So then C says, I'm normally chronically empty, but listening to The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle really helped put me at ease. Oh, wow. I kind of skimmed that book. Pretty interesting book. Um, so Doug Bell, the queen is back in the house. Thanks, Doug. Happy and content. So then, Jesus Cuz says, what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate, aka Top G? Oh no, not Andrew Tate. Yeah, every single time that is the question. Um, I don't know because I hear he's like going on a rampage now. I'm not like following him as I've told you guys on these lives before. I've only seen like a couple videos, but I did see like a really brief clip of him today, and he was just really striking me as very beta and nerdy yet again. And that was also my initial impression of him. And yeah, like the flash I saw again, I'm like, why is this like literally jumping out at me? Like literally the first thing I see. So yeah, but like I said in another live, he's being dominant and degrading enough that some girls are bound to be into it. You know what I mean? So what he's doing is going to be more effective than what some people are doing. Well, a lot of guys are doing. So I can see why some women will take it and are drawn to him, but to me, he just comes off as an imposter alpha, as some great commenter once said on my channel. Not about Andrew Tate, but about just like imposter alphas in general. Um, what do you guys think of him? Have you guys been like following his TikTok or the latest? Like, what's he up to now? What's the latest with him? So, Naeem says a woman leaves a guy because she feels like she's settling. What are all the reasons she'll feel this way? Okay, so when a woman feels like she's settling, so I think like a lot, it can happen for different people. I think they'll feel they're settling for different reasons, but one reason could be like, he's has a good job, he has a good, education, he has a good career, he's stable, he's nice, but he's just lacking that basically alpha edge. He's lacking some kind of, or maybe he's lacking like the sexual chemistry or like the sexual spark. So it's kind of like a lot of times you feel like you're settling when it's like, I should like him because, you know, he gives me, I'm semi happy with him. He's nice to me, pretty much. Um, but they just feel like, that true spark, that true sexual chemistry, maybe those true like alpha qualities. Like they feel like they could do better. They feel like they can get a guy who's more what they truly dreamed about and what they truly crave deep down. And maybe what their body is like really telling them and urging them to get. So, yeah, it's kind of like they're calculating in their mind, like, well, I should like stop looking. Maybe like I'm getting older. Maybe like I really want to have a family. This guy could provide me with like a nice lifestyle. This guy, I could have like a very like stable, content life with this guy. But there's more that I like truly crave that this guy cannot give me. Like for whatever reason, he just doesn't have it. So she'll just feel like, should I just, take what I got or should I keep on looking and take my chances that maybe I won't find someone better than this guy? You know what I mean? So So does that explain it at all, Naeem? Let me know. So then, dude says, "Hey Victoria, just want to say thank you for your channel. You helped me so much." Oh wow, wow, dude. Could you let me know in what way and what in particular helped you? Because I love to hear, like, because I've said so much random stuff on my channel. So if you could tell me, like, specifically if you remember anything, I would love to hear that. And thank you for letting me know as well. Um, yeah, it's amazing. So then hello, Halo, and Pierre says, "Is it true that a woman's sex drive is conditional?" So what does that mean, Pierre? So I'm not sure what you mean by conditional. So then, Raw Food Writer says, "I'm just going to start living my best life, doing what I love, and if the right woman comes along, then that's great. If not, oh well." Thoughts? Well, I don't really feel like it's the best approach, Raw Food Writer. Like, it sounds good, but if you just start living your best life doing what you love, I mean, it could be a long time before a girl comes, like, knocking down your, door because, a lot of girls want to be pursued and want you to initiate and take the steps to flirt with them, so I feel like it's important not to just sit back too much and, focus on yourself because that's good too, but you can't just hope that someone's gonna, like, you know, grab you as you're walking down the street. So I'm just worried, I guess, that you guys won't get any dates doing that. But it depends. So then, okay. Um, Mr. King Cringe, the Simp King says, "Can you trust a code switcher? Is it okay to code switch?" I think it definitely is. Like, I would understand if someone's, like, code switching, like, I wouldn't judge them or find them, like, untrustworthy at all. And I feel like, yeah, like, even, like, guys I've been around, I feel like they kinda code switch, like, with their friends, you know? Like, their voice gets lower, and they start, like, saying "bro" more and stuff. So, I think it's very normal in, like, all different situations, so no, you can trust that. Um, okay, power of pull, feeling receptive to whatever happens tonight, that's cool. Cool state of mind. So, Ted Barley says, "How prevalent do you think it is for women to hire male escorts? And why would a woman do that since they have so many options?" Um, so I don't think it is very prevalent at all, but I have read like an article about like a woman who did it. And why would they do it? I could kind of understand why. They might want a guy who is both extremely good looking, who also really understands like the female gaze and will kind of be receptive and open to creating an experience, putting them first, because that's actually not, yeah, they could have sex with a lot of guys, but it's very difficult to kind of like give instructions to a lot of guys, for a woman because a lot of times they're not like really receptive to hearing it in the moment. And so I've just seen so many girls saying this kind of thing where they're just like, we try to tell them what to do and they won't listen. And I've had that experience myself like many times. It's just their ego is like too involved once, sex is happening basically. So, yeah, I mean, if I'd be interested to see what it's like with a male escort for sure. So, Jean M. Fernandez, thank you so much for your tip. I really appreciate that, Gene. And then you said there's a difference between nice and simp. Simp is overly nice and is there, and it's there where the confusion is. Nice, but not overly to the extreme. Um, yeah, I know what you mean. I like what most of you guys consider simping is often just like people being nice. Like I notice this on my channel, like every time a person says something like genuinely complimentary to me, um, people just comment simp in all capital letters. I don't think they're simping. I think they're just being like polite, friendly, and nice. However, there are people who take it to the extreme, like what you're saying, and those people, I can understand why you call them simps, because it comes off as fake and it comes off as just desperately seeking the approval of the woman, and it can give a very slimy and creepy vibe because it's not a genuine compliment, it's just a false, over the top, desperate, mad dash for approval, if you will. And so it comes across like, the guy wants something from you and he's just going about it all wrong. And so it's kind of just creepy. And like, you want to just be like, what? Just say what you have to say. You know what I mean? Don't. So yeah, I agree. People can really go over the top. And also, just a lot of times, like on, let's say, a photo on Instagram of kind of like a hot girl or something, you will just see so many people in the comments leaving these comments. They're just like, "Oh, sexy, beautiful angel, my love, I would love to kiss you," or some like really weird, bizarre, over the top, slimy, like creepy compliment. And in that case, you just want to say, "Oh my God, guys, please, please give a genuine compliment. Don't try to just." I mean, maybe it is genuine because 'cause they're, like, super horny and that's, like, all they can think of in the moment, but it just comes across as just so bad to women. That being said, genuine praise, genuine admiration, like, legit feelings of admiration and compliments in kind of like a confident way. It doesn't even have to be confident, it just has to be, like, authentic. It's not simping. So, yeah, I agree with you, Gene. There is a difference. So, yeah. Like, I'm gonna read you guys an example of, like, a simp kind of compliment that I got from somebody recently, which really disturbed me, okay? Alright, just hold on 1 second, 'cause I'm gonna show you in my email. Alright. I'm not gonna tell you this person's name, okay? So he goes like this: "First, let me say this, you are the most hottest YouTuber out there, too hot to be on YouTube. I subscribed your YouTube channel only because you are too hot and sexy." Okay, can you see how this is just obviously a desperate, like, plea for attention and approval? Okay? Like, you are too hot and sexy for me, and there's, like, tons of hot and sexy peoples on YouTube. Like, the compliments just don't make sense. Do you know what I'm saying? So, in that case, it just comes across as, like, weirdly, like, creepy. But that's different than saying, like, "I genuinely love your channel, and I've gotten so much from it, and it's helped me so much." That's not simping. So do you guys see the difference? Yeah, remember says, "Almost sounds like a joke." Exactly, like, it's just, what are you thinking, you know? Yeah, and, like, if I just, like, pull up, like, an Instagram of someone I follow, like, I will see a lot of comments like that where I'm just like, "What the hell is this guy thinking? He's so out of touch." Yeah. Alright, for some reason, I can't look at my Instagram right now, but anyway. All right, but great point, Jean. Thanks again for that tip. And feel free to tell me your thoughts as well. Oh, here you go. It's only creepy when the girl isn't interested. Well, I don't agree with that, Jean, because whether or not I was interested, like that compliment that I just read you from that email would have turned me off because it's so inauthentic and so dishonest. So if I was interested in him at first, I would no longer have been interested because I would be scared. Like this guy seems insane. So then Jean also says if women were less picky, we would be living in a much better world, less violence. Uh I don't agree with that, Jean, but I do feel like maybe if sex work were legal, we would be living in a much better world because there would be less violence because women would be able to voluntarily offer their services. But just forcing women to like disregard their instincts for who they want to actually like reproduce with is not the answer, in my opinion. Peter says, a man who has value is picky too. Yes, as they should be, as they should be. All right, so let's go back to some of these other questions. Um, all right. So then, Very Three Sty says, do you think the wall exists for women? So, I mean, in a sense, yes, in a sense, no. I mean, no matter what age a woman is, she will always have men available to her. Okay, she can be a sugar baby at like 70 years old. I've seen women do this and be extremely successful at it. Um, she can have sex with any guy, well, almost any guy. She can have sex with like super young hot guys at like 70 years old. I've also seen a lot of women do this. So it doesn't exist in the way men like to insult women for, like, oh, you'll just end up like alone with your cats because no man will want to fuck you because you're ugly now. So, like, no, not in that way. But, like, biologically, um, it exists in a way. Like, your fertility declines and stuff, and you age. But I'm not exactly sure what the definition of like the wall is on like the incel wiki or wherever this is coming from. So let me know the exact definition. Um, so the Seattle Green says, I will only approach a woman if she stares at me. If a woman is showing zero interest, guess what? She's not into you. I don't agree with that, the Seattle Green. And I don't agree that you should only approach a woman who stares at you. A lot of time women don't know if they're into you until you actually talk to them and show them who you are and like what your personality is like. So I think it's a big mistake to wait for a woman to stare at you. Okay. A lot of times they might have not have noticed you. You have to like introduce yourself. Um and also if a woman is showing zero interest, that can be pretty normal at first. I mean, obviously if she's showing like negative interest and like being very disgusted and like horrified that you're approaching, she's not into you. But if she's kind of showing neutral interest, um, she probably hasn't made up her mind about you yet. She's kind of waiting to be wooed, waiting to be impressed, and you have an opportunity to do that. So, like I said in my latest video, don't wait for the green light. Don't make that mistake because I recently saw the conclusion of F Boy Island, and that same guy in that video who was waiting for the green light, and he said, Oh, well, now she's giving me the green light, so next time I'm going to be making a move. Guess what? He didn't make a move. He said that he had the green light so he would make a move, but he didn't end up making the move. Okay? So, yeah, this whole green light thing, sometimes it seems more like an excuse than an actual obstacle. So, yeah, that's my opinion on that. So, Spudsky says an ex girlfriend from 20 years ago came out of the blue and Facebook friend requested yesterday. She dumped me and I have no intention of accepting her request. Curious as to why the friend request. Well, this was 20 years ago. So to her, it's probably, water under the bridge and maybe she wants to just reconnect. She might have some interest in rekindling things, but she might just have like good memories from 20 years ago. Um, but if you still have like hard feelings, that's fine. Oh my God. Be what it is, 707. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much for the tip. It's extremely generous. So he says, true or false? Giving me a hand with these farm chores will make guys more alpha. So are you saying like if guys worked on a farm, would they become more alpha? Or is this some kind of like training program you have, like on a farm to make guys more alpha? And same music books on the stand. Yep, it is the same music books on the stand. I haven't got any new ones, but I'm thinking of getting a new fake book because I actually don't know a lot of these classic rock songs, so I was thinking of getting like a pop one. But be what it is, can you please clarify for me? I'll look down for your response. So, giving me a hand with these farm chores will make guys more alpha. So, what farm chores are you referring to? All right, I will be waiting your update on that. Be what it is. And thank you once again. So, all right, in the meantime, I will answer another question. So, um, okay. All right, so I'll just go up again to where I was. Um, okay. So, Fontes GF says, what exactly does it mean to be good in bed? Okay, that's a really good question. I like that, Fontes GF. So, okay, here's one aspect of being good in bed, okay? Most guys, they don't really understand, like, the female experience in bed. It's like they're really focused on what they like in bed, and then they're kinda just assuming that the woman will, like, by proxy, be into it too. So I feel like guys who are good in bed understand that the woman has to be kind of like a big part of the experience. Like, she has to be kind of like on the same page all the way through the experience. It's not like you can just do it like in the movies, which is, how we see, where it's just you're kissing, you push her up against the wall, there's passion, you stick it in, you come in like, you know, 10 seconds, you roll over and you're like, "Ah, that was so good. Like, was it good for you?" Like, that's what we think sex should be, but that's terrible for the woman, okay? Like, it might be good to her in like some way, but that's not going to be what good in bed is for her, okay? So like my boyfriend, he is amazing in bed, but he kind of like tailors so much to my like interests and my experience and what is good for me, and he's really like reading me, and um he does what he likes too. But it's just I'm so much more like involved and in his mind, and it's a team effort, I guess. Because it's like because he's doing that, I'm also doing the same thing for him. But I don't know. I just feel like that's the basics. Is that most guys just don't even like think that the woman might be enjoying it or not enjoying it. They just assume that she is. Then another aspect of like what is good and bad is for example, a lot of guys they're so scared. They're kind of like rushing things and they're doing it like by rote and it's like they're following like these steps they have in their head. Like, okay, first I got to like kiss, then I got to do this. And it's just they're not like living in the moment. They're not feeling it's like this like it's not like they're just melting into like this into the zone in a way. It's not like they're just in the moment. Um so that's another thing a lot of guys like just are not good in bed. It's like they're just too mechanical, you know? They're not feeling things. They're not taking it slowly enough to like savor things. Then another part of like what it means to be good in bed is like I said to you guys on my channel, like all the time, a lot of women have these fantasies basically about guys who are alpha, like masculinity, strength, power, dominance, assertiveness, orders. Like I've talked about this stuff on my channel too, and a lot of guys are not brave enough to go there. They're not comfortable enough with their dark side in a way, their sexuality to like express that part of themselves. So for certain girls, you're never really going to be able to like touch that deep, kinky side of her, which will really unleash like her true sexuality if you're too scared to like touch that part of you. So those are just a few things, in my opinion, that being good in bed involves. So great question. And what do you think of that? And now I think I just received a tip, but I don't know where that went. So let me look here. Um, all right, now let me see if B what it is responded. Oh, Eric Staples. Thank you so much, Eric Staples. Too good for this world. Um, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Eric, but if it's me, that's really, really nice. But if it's not, then I will feel embarrassed because, like, let me know. Is that about me? But thanks, Eric. Appreciate that. And Eric, what did you think? What do you what do you think being good in bed means? And just everyone who's here and wants to, let me know in the chat. What is being good in bed to you? And what do you think being good in bed means to a woman as well? All right, let me go down to the bottom here because I might be missing some people. Hello, Praveen. So, Power of the Poll says sex is a team sport. You're right. I completely agree. It's like a tennis match, you know? You gotta just like work off each other's chemistry. You gotta like hit the ball back. Like somebody says something dirty and like you gotta respond, you know? Somebody does something and you gotta react. So Invasion says true, that I know what you talking about. I agree. Nice, Invasion. Troy says men are robotic. Some men are extremely robotic. Invasion says we can be very robotic. It's true. Um, so Invasion says she knows what she's talking about. She deep with this. Okay. I'm glad you thought that was deep because I felt I was being a little inarticulate, but I hope you got what I was saying. So thanks. Um, so Mike says men don't speak energy, dear. We don't speak hint. We don't speak aura. We don't speak chakra. We speak English. If you need something in bed, ask for it in English. Well, Mike, you know, that's kind of like a robotic attitude, in my opinion, because it's like you can only understand something if it's like a direct order. You know, it's gonna be a bit boring sex. Like maybe you want like a dominatrix then, because it's just like if she's just telling you, do this, do that. It's like, extremely clear, it's extremely direct. There's more to sex than that. There is nuance, there is subtlety, there is body language, there is reading kind of like the vibe. Like, it's reacting on like a level that's deeper than English. It's like you're animals in that moment, and animals don't speak English. So I don't really like this opinion of just, ask for it in English. I get maybe where you're coming from, that it would be nice if women spoke up more about what they like, which I agree with. But one problem you will see women saying a lot, and I do agree with them, is that women will tell guys what they want, and guys will just ignore it. And that's because, they're sensitive in the moment about doing it wrong. And it's hard for them to take direction when they're kind of supposed to be like the man and like the dominant one. So they can get their feelings hurt. And so a lot of times they just end up ignoring it. Or I don't know if they're just like really excited, but a lot of times they won't really take direction in the moment. And this is something many women have experienced, including myself, and it's scary to be honest. But yeah, I wouldn't try to reduce sex down to like, speak English or I can't feel a thing. So, yeah. Um, yeah, Praveen says men on the autism spectrum are especially robotic. Yeah, I could see that. Um, so Troy says you have to be able to flow like a classical music piece. Do not act like the song Mr. Roboto. Exactly, Troy. Exactly. I mean, it's kinda like I feel like, it's kinda like improv or something, or like acting. Like, you just have to be in the moment, you have to be, like, reacting, um, and you have to be feeling as well and being, like, influenced by these deep feelings and just, like, acting on them, like, no hesitation, you know? Like, no judgment whatsoever, and that's what I find, like, so freeing about it, is because it's like, I just get to erase all rules and just do whatever like these deep instincts are telling me. So it's really fun. Um so Lil Me says Victoria, in terms of sexuality, what is the ideal woman from the viewpoint of women? What is the most valuable desired woman sexually? That's a really interesting question. Um, like is there one woman who they just feel like, "Oh, if only I could be like her." Um I don't really know because I know they kinda, like, admire, like, a bunch of different women for their sexuality, um like, I know they're always talking about, like, Doja Cat or, Megan Thee Stallion or, um, Margot Robbie or, like, Angelina Jolie, like, back in the day, um, but that's, like, a really interesting question, like, who would be the most and then, of course, they kinda, like, really idolize, like, models, like Kylie Jenner and Victoria's Secret models, and, so, yeah, I'm not sure if there's, like, one, because I don't know. That's a really good question, Lummi. Um, so TT says, "Do you think guys in the gay community are having more sex than heterosexuals? If yes, can you explain why?" Okay, well, I might be, like, speaking out of turn here, but I think I can definitely say yes. It's kinda like a well-known fact that guys in the gay community have, like, way more sex than heterosexuals, and I think it's basically because a lot of them have, like, male sexuality, and it's kinda simpler when, like, 2 guys kinda have no problem with their sexuality, and they like sex a lot, so that's not a very good explanation, but basically it's like when 2 men with kinda like the same sexuality meet up, things are simpler, okay? They don't have to like they don't have like the female gaze to like confuse things and like, you know, there's like differing objectives there. So yeah, and they just have like a much more free attitude as well. Um, like I admire their attitude a lot. But so Christy Oliver says the problem is false worship, people worshiping people and people's images. There are no good positive role models for our young people nowadays, and who is going to pay the price? Our young people. Hmm. So what do you think is like not positive role model about those people, Christy? So she says, look at how many women on personal value put personal value in terms of how they look and how many people worship them. Well, looks don't last forever, and eventually the industry will cast them aside for the next young person. Yeah, I know what you mean, Christy. Like, I don't believe that like a role model for your sexuality has anything to do with how someone looks. Like, you can look sexy and not be good in bed and not really know how to tap into your sexuality. So I agree, like, women shouldn't be worshiping people just because, like, they look good externally. Well, like, they can admire them for their looks, but they shouldn't be looking up to them as a role model for, like, how to be sexy. So TT says, can you please explain what the female gaze is? Any examples? Okay, so I heard about this term on TikTok and I'm like, oh, it's so brilliant. Like, why didn't I ever think of this before? So, kind of like the main ultimate example of the female gaze that they're always talking about is if you guys have seen Pride and Prejudice, okay? And there's this one scene where Elizabeth Bennet is like Darcy and Elizabeth hate each other, okay, like Mr. Darcy, and so they're like enemies to lovers, and he's like helping her get into a carriage, okay, and they're still enemies at this point. They're all like annoyed with each other, and having like a battle of the wits all the time, witty repartee, and so just as he's giving her into the like supporting her by getting into the carriage like this, right? So she pulls her hand away because it's kind of like their touch is like sizzling because there's so much tension between them, right? So then the camera focuses in on Darcy's hand going like this because it's like, there's so much bubbling sexual tension between them that it's like it's coursing through his body and he's just gripping his hand because the touch like seared him to the core. Okay. So when a woman sees that and she sees that little hand gesture, that little tension in the hand, she's swooning. She's like, oh my God, this is so fucking hot. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much passion and sexual tension. And like, this is incredible. Like, I'm so turned on right now. Whereas, like, when my boyfriend saw that scene, he just laughed. He's like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. Like, what man would ever do that? This is so, like, false. You know what I'm saying? So it's like then an example of the male gaze is like, I forgot what movie this is, like The Fast and the Furious or something like that, and it's like the camera zooms in, and it's like this red convertible, and there's this woman soaping it up, and they're not focusing in on her head, they're focusing in on her, like, wet skin and her breasts and her butt, and that's, like, where the camera's focusing on. That's the male gaze. That's what, like, men find sexy, okay? Compare that to, little hand squeezing, because to the woman, to the female gaze, this conveys, like, everything they deeply want, which is, like, passion, which is chemistry, which is a huge buildup of tension, which is, like, deep connection and, like, deep compatibility and, like, conflict. Okay, so does that make sense at all? So female gaze is just basically a way of a way that women have of kind of looking at the world with like a female lens, like the stuff that women want. And that's very different a lot of times than the stuff that men want. You know what I'm saying? So does that make sense at all? And Praveen, thank you so much for your tip. First time in your live stream and love your content. Oh my gosh, thanks Praveen. That really means a lot. And yeah. And if you have any questions, Praveen, let me know and I'll try to look for them too. So nobody says it makes perfect sense. Is that about the female gaze and male gaze? Nobody? Yeah, I think it's a really interesting way of looking at things. Like once I started seeing that, I'm like, oh wow, um, this is really clarifying some things for me. Because like It's like certain books I read now, I'm like, "Oh my god, that is so male gaze." You know what I mean? Like, for example, I once read this, like, comic book, okay? And, I started recognizing this was so written by a man. Like, only a man would write this because this is a male fantasy. Because he's meeting this manic pixie dream girl, and the girl's like making the first move. She's giving him total flashing green lights. She's initiating everything. She's helping him lose his virginity because, like, she's more experienced than him. And he's kind of like this nerdy artist, and she's just in love with him for that. And it's like, do you see how that's really more male gaze? It's like a male fantasy, whereas a woman's fantasy, typically, okay, like women have different fantasies, but like overall, the female gaze might be more like something like, 365 Denis, if you guys have seen that movie, where she's like kidnapped by this super alpha, like mafia gangster dude and kind of like held prisoner, and he like forces her to go shopping, like dress up. And do you see what I'm saying? It's just very different. Female fantasy versus male fantasies. So, yeah. Um, so TT asks, at what age do women realize that men are attracted to them sexually? Unfortunately, TT, I'd say this is extremely young. Like, I probably realized this at like 8. Sick as that sounds, okay? But I was like very young when I realized, I'm like, oh wow, this is getting real. This is getting creepy. This is getting like really uncomfortable. So, oh, Praveen, all right, let me get your question here. So, I'm wondering what you think about approaching women at the gym. It has never worked for me and always ended up in embarrassment. Um, well, Praveen, just because it hasn't worked for you yet and it's embarrassing, like, that's understandable. However, there's no reason not to do it. Like, I would keep doing it. If you don't want to not do it, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. However, there's no reason that you, like, shouldn't do it, okay, just because it's a gym. And you're probably gonna get rejected a lot, like, no doubt, but that's pretty much anywhere, gym or not. Like, I would keep doing it because you stuck as I've said in, like, lots of lives, you just always wanna have this feeling of, like, I can talk to who I want as long as I'm respectful and, as long as I take rejection well. Like, no one can take that away from you, okay? So don't think like there's certain zones where, you know, I am never allowed to approach a woman. I mean, with one exception, I wouldn't do it in a threatening situation, like for example, on a dark street at night, and she's like alone walking down the alleyway because she'll just be super scared, or like in a garage, like a parking garage at night. Do you know what I'm saying? Or like in an elevator, like a creepy, like dimly lit elevator at night, and it's just you two. Like those kind of situations where it's truly a scary situation for the girl, don't do it. Okay? But somewhere like the gym, it's in public, it's brightly lit. Like people are talking to each other at the gym. People are making friends at the gym. There's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't. And yeah, some girls are like, "No, I'm not here to talk to guys. I'm just here to like do my workout." Okay, fine, they can tell you that. It might be like slightly annoying, but as long as you just take it well, it's fine. Oh, okay. Praveen says, "Thank you so much for addressing my questions, Victoria." No problem, Praveen. So nobody says, "Yes, she has to be comfortable with the approach and the surrounding environment." Yeah. So Primetime says, how do I address things I see red flags that trigger things like abandonment issues and trust issues with the person I'm dating without making them feel like I'm trying to argue or be passive aggressive? So, Primetime, can you clarify? Because are you saying like you see these red flags in her, and are they triggering her abandonment issues and trust issues or yours? So, like, are you saying like you want to point out these red flags to her in an argument? So, could you just clarify that a little, Primetime? Because that's interesting. Hello, Edward. So, Primetime says, I saw something that triggered mine. So, so is it they triggered your red flags? Or is it her red flags that triggered your abandonment issues and it started the argument? Who has the red flags? Is it her or you? Alright. So her red flags triggered you. Okay. Well, prime time, no problem. Like, no problem. So, okay. This is what I do with my boyfriend. Okay. I want to make a video about this because it's like I've told you guys on I've told you guys on live before. It's like really incredible, and we actually just did it tonight. So basically, we just set aside 20 minutes twice a week to basically address things that like are really serious or like really bother you or you just want to like talk about. Okay. We do it in this like really structured way, but I feel like it's so much better than just trying to argue it out. Because when you just argue it out, it's like you say something and then she defends herself and then you get like annoyed because it's not true and then she gets offended and then you get insulted and then like it just could just blow up from there. And so it's just like there's a grain of truth in every criticism. Like, something happened that caused me to distrust her and I feel she wasn't 100% honest with her answer. Like there's some truth, like you're trying to get across something important. Do you know what I mean? And if you just tell her in, like, the wrong way, she's just not gonna listen. So I feel like this structured exercise is just so good because it allows the other person to, like, stop being defensive and just actually acknowledge, "Okay, there's something real here." So anyway, the way you do the exercise, it might be kind of boring, but basically you have to do, 2 things. Thought empathy and feeling empathy, okay? So thought empathy is like you summarize what they said. So, like you would say, something happened that caused me to trust you, and I feel you weren't 100% honest. So then she would say, so you're saying something happened that caused you to distrust me, and you feel I wasn't being 100% honest. So that's thought empathy, basically just summarizing. But it's really good because you're like, yeah, you heard me. Like, that's exactly what I said. And then the second part is the feeling empathy, which is when you say, like, based on that, what might you be feeling? So, like, based on that, she would say something like, so I imagine, like, you know, you might be feeling like pretty hurt or maybe upset or even like angry with me. And then a lot of times that just feels so good because you're like, yeah, yeah, that is what I'm feeling. Or you might be like, well, not really angry, but more just like super annoyed or something. But anyway, you just feel like so heard. So anyway, the way we do it is we just set like a 1 minute timer and a 20-minute timer, and then just you talk for 1 minute, and then the other person does the thought empathy and feeling empathy. Anyway, you just feel so heard, and it's just such a good way to resolve arguments. And like at the end of that, I just feel like the first time we did it, I felt like intense relief, like this all these problems just like dissolved because it just feels so good to finally feel like heard and understood and acknowledged and kind of like empathize with, it's just incredible. And like you can resolve horrible problems in your relationship that seem like completely unsolvable. And you're not trying to like solve the issue either. You're just trying to understand each other, you know? And anyway, I got that. That's kind of like a basic couples counseling exercise, but I got it from the book Feeling Good by David Burns. So, yeah, basically saved my relationship. Um, yeah, so I feel like that's better than just trying to like argue it out because I've tried that. Um, so TT says, I'm usually good at approaching women and get numbers, but they would usually not reply to my messages. Does that mean I'm not attractive enough for them to date me? No, TT. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Here's the thing. Like, I used to do this to guys all the time too. Um, and basically, what you don't understand is in the moment, the girl might like you and might be like semi attracted to you, or she might even feel like pressured to give you her number. Not that you're pressuring her, but she just kind of might feel like, oh, I don't know how to say no, so I'll just give it to him and then I'll decide later. But a lot of these girls, they're scared to go on dates. Like, you guys just, I don't think like you understand. Like, a lot of these girls aren't intending to go on dates. First of all, they've got a huge backlog. So it's not like they kinda have to go with the dates they have. Like, if they let you pass, there's gonna be another guy who's gonna ask for their number. So, it doesn't mean that you're not attractive enough because they might find you attractive, but it's like they might be scared of sex, basically, and they know that going on a date is like a sexual thing where there's the chance of sex and sexuality, and they might not be, like, ready for that. Like, a lot of girls are like that. They don't intend to go on the date, or it's like when they really have to, like, make or break it, like, am I gonna literally go on this date or not? They just won't because they're like, I'll get a date the next time." You know what I mean? So it doesn't mean you're not attractive enough. It just means they have like incredible options. It's like an applicant to Harvard. Okay, if one guy doesn't get into Harvard, he could have, like, perfect SAT scores, be the valedictorian, and be, like, an Olympian, and he still doesn't get into Harvard. So, it's kinda similar. It's like they've got so many applicants that just because they're not going on the date with you, it doesn't mean you're not attractive enough. I mean, if you weren't attractive enough, they probably wouldn't have given you their number in the first place. They might have, because, like I said, they might have felt pressured, but it's one possibility out of, like, dozens, and it's definitely not the most probable, okay? Like, an extremely attractive guy could get her number, and he's like mega Chad, Giga Chad is whatever you guys call him, and, she's still not gonna go on the date with him because she's scared, okay? It's intense, it's scary, especially for, like, younger girls who don't have much experience dating, and a lot of times, like, for older girls too, who, like, have been out of the dating scene for a long time or whatever. So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense, and, oh my gosh, what it is, 7:07. Thank you so much. You tipped me again. Oh, thank you. So he says, "Serving the Most High teaches one more mastery over the self. Farms are good to have in the family." Oh, I like this. This is very, like, this is like a interesting, what's the word? Kind of like an obscure saying, kind of like a mysterious, uh, what's the word? Okay, so serving the Most High teaches one mastery over the self. Farms are good to have in the family. I like that. That's like an ancient fragment from like a Greek philosopher. Farms are good to have in the family. What does it mean? I don't know. Up for debate, but it seems deep, does it not? Um, Okay. Hello, Gamer Christina. Thank you for this supportive message here. We have 67 people watching with 51 likes. That is awesome. Let's get 60 more likes to make this fabulous show 100% liked. Ah, thanks, Gamer Christina. So Steve Clark says, "Have you read the book Nonviolent Communication? It sounds similar to what you're talking about." I haven't, Steve Clark. I want to read that. I've heard a lot about it. Um, do you like it? Have a good night, Praveen. Thanks so much for joining, and thank you for your tips. Um, so Patrick Lewis says, "This might sound a bit weird, but can any guy get the most beautiful woman in the world?" Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe if like you found the most beautiful woman in the world's secret, basically like Achilles heel that like no guy was giving to her. Like maybe she has some like secret fetish or something and like you could provide that for her. But like in general, I feel like since they're the most beautiful, they probably have the most options, so they're going to have the most ability to choose. Um and so they're going to be the most picky and they're going to be able to get, a guy who is kind of like topping out in every category they want. Yeah, what do you think, Patrick? I mean, let's be real, probably not. However, if that guy could really understand what she most deeply craves and then somehow kind of like package that and give it to her, but could any guy have that like deep level of understanding or even get access to like that secret side of her? No. So, what am I saying? Yeah, Christian, exactly. The farm quote sounds like it might be from Hesiod's Works and Days, which is his advice for his brother, if I recall. Farming is basically good for all the reason you'd think. Great content, by the way. Exactly, Christian. It reminded me of this guy, Heraclitus, and he just has like 50 fragments, and they're really weird, and but they're also kind of like deep. So, you can't really tell if they're just like random or if they're deep. So they're fun to contemplate. Um, um, So Naeem says, yes, that did answer my question about her settling. Me and her had a conversation, and she explains to me that there was an emotional discount, maybe like disconnect. I don't know if that's the truth, or she's just looking for a guy with better financial situations and resources. Um, so yeah, did you mean emotional disconnect, Naeem? Because I mean that's a very valid reason. Um, she could have emotional disconnect for like a lot of reasons. It could be kind of like a way for her to put words to something she doesn't totally understand, or it could just be because like you weren't really making her feel validated and heard and understood, and that's a big part of a relationship for a woman as well as the other stuff. So yeah, I mean, saying there's an emotional disconnect is kind of vague enough that I doubt it was a lie because it can really cover a lot. But it doesn't have to be necessarily she's just looking for a guy who's like richer. It I mean, there's more that women are looking for, unless her specifically, she was like kind of obsessed with finding someone who, you know, could provide her with this like luxury lifestyle. But in lots of situations, it wouldn't be for that reason. So so Decoder says, hung out with a coworker at my place for a couple hours. We didn't kiss. I was touching her a bit to see if she was open. She seemed closed off, but she suggested hanging out again soon. Thoughts? So it could be like one of two things. Like she could just be like hesitant to open up because she kind of doesn't really know if she can trust you. She doesn't really know what your intentions are. She doesn't know if you just want to hook up and then never see her again, or hook up and then you're going to think of her as a slut, and maybe it's not like appropriate to do this with your coworker. So that could be some reasons why she was closed off. Um, or and so that's why she would want to like suggest hang out again soon. Like, let's kind of take this slow. Let's see, you know, how invested this guy is. That could be one explanation for what she said. Another one though could be like she um she seemed closed off, like she didn't like it, and so she was kind of tensing up. But then she suggested hanging out soon, almost like as a way to deflect things, like, "Yeah, yeah, let's hang out again soon. Yeah, let's do this again soon," to try to smooth things over, to keep things cool at work. So, it could go either way. Maybe she didn't like it, or maybe she's just not fully comfortable, as most girls will not be unless she's, like, you know, had a crush with you for for years, like, she's just like, I just can't wait to jump him." But it's more likely that she's kind of feeling things out with you and seeing like what your intentions are. Oh, so Cosmic Shy, you agree with the take? So, hello, Patch the Sinclair. So TT says, do you think a guy should persist if a girl doesn't reply to his message? Um, so obviously it depends on the situation. Like, your last message could have been something really, off-putting. However, in most situations, I do. I think you should, it's not over till it's over. It's not over till she actually rejects you. And a lot of times guys just feel like, oh, she ghosted me or there's silence and so like she's not interested or she doesn't like me and so she rejected me. Well, she hasn't actually rejected you yet. You know what I mean? And a lot of times I feel guys underestimate the most typical mentality of women when it comes to dating, which is just never reach out, never initiate contact first, lean back, let the guy pursue you. So a lot of times they're, waiting for you to pursue in the form of a message. I know I was like that. So yeah, I do think you should persist. But if she literally tells you, back off, I'm not interested, there's no spark, then you can just stop. Praveen, you're back. Thank you so much, Praveen. He says the number one rule I learned the hard way is no, never date a coworker if you like your job and want to continue to be employed with the company. Good advice, Praveen. Very good advice. Yeah, as soon as it goes bad at your job, like it's over. You just gotta leave, pretty much. Um, yeah, good advice, Praveen, and thank you so much for the tip. So, did you date someone at the company and then it went like horribly wrong? And did you get fired from it because you were? So Ted Barley says, have you ever approached a guy? Yes, I have many times because, well, I have told you guys I did this thing called the rejection club. So on my very first meeting of the rejection club, I was like, what challenge should I do to everyone who was there? And they were like, oh, you should ask out a guy. And because I was like the head of the group, I was like, oh God, I can't back down now. Like they're counting on me. So I did it. And it actually turned out pretty stupidly because I panicked and there was two guys sitting at a table and then I just walked up to them both and then I like said I want to ask them out, but I didn't like direct it to either one. So they're like, which person do you mean? Like me or him? And then I'm like, both. And then they just like laughed and they're like, well, we're actually gay, but like we really appreciate that. And like if they said something like if we are straight, like we would have accepted or something. But then that was just the first time. Then I have done it. Oh, actually, that wasn't even the first time. I had done it before then. And then when I worked as a stripper, I got a lot of practice approaching guys because that's basically the entire job. Is like you basically take the man's role and you have to go up to guys and you have to talk to them. Obviously, it's a bit easier because like they want to be approached, but not all of them want to be approached by every stripper, obviously. So yeah, but after that, I lost all fear of approaching guys, so now I could do it no problem. So yeah, I worked as a stripper. If you can watch some of my old videos. Um so TG says, do women see men in general as a sexual threat? Yeah, pretty much. In general, yes. Um, obviously not like every guy, but just if they're talking about like men in general, they have kind of like this deep fear of men as a sexual threat, like in general overall. And I feel like guys kind of underestimate how deep that runs because it used to run like incredibly deep in me. Very, very deep. And I didn't even realize how deep it ran until I've told the story before, but basically the day after I became a stripper, it disappeared. And then I realized, like, oh my God, that was like an enormous weight that's lifted. Like, I feel like, Scrooge on like Christmas morning. Like, this is just an enormous change. So then I kind of realized, oh wow, I didn't even realize how bad this was and how bad it is for most girls because I already thought like I was pretty over my fear of men at that point, like far more than my friends and stuff. So yeah. Decoder says, "Are you still raw vegan?" No, I'm not. But I am still vegan. I'm still ethical vegan. I still eat a lot of fruit and stuff, but unfortunately, I'm not raw vegan anymore. I wish I was because it's so great for like beauty, but unfortunately, it's just too hard. Um, yeah, Decoder says, I tried raw vegan for a bit, but it's impossible to maintain. Yeah, it pretty much is impossible to maintain. Like, you have to exert Herculean effort to be a raw vegan, especially in like a cold climate. Fruit is great though. Yeah, I agree. I still retained like my love of fruit from that. Like I still eat like way more fruit than most will ever eat. Um, Goodbye, nobody. So, Cookie Hand says she said she don't want to be with me, but keeps trying to get my attention. Well, I think that's kind of normal because she might be, you know, she might retain some feelings for you, and she might still be like undecided, even though she basically, you know, said what she said, but that doesn't mean she's still not kind of like mulling it over in her mind. Almost like that video I made about the friend zone, wondering, could he step it up? Could he change? You know? Um, so Jordan says, do you like seafood? No, I absolutely hate it. I feel extremely bad for fish, for lobsters, for shrimps, for crabs. Like, basically, I cannot be around it when people are like boiling lobsters alive and this. It's absolutely horrible, in my opinion. Um, Ted Barley says, I find that most vegans are vegans based on ethical reasons, and their diet has nothing to do with optimal human health. That can be true, Ted Barley. For example, you know, there's a lot of junk food vegans who are doing it for ethical reasons, but there's also a lot of whole food, plant-based vegans who are eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes, which is optimal for human health. So, yeah, Raphael, that's interesting. Some vegans eat oysters since they don't have a nervous system. Yeah, like I've heard that, where they're like, oh, they truly can't feel because they don't have like a nervous system. Yeah, it's interesting. TT said, "Do you read The Law of Human Nature by Robert Greene?" So is that his latest book, The Laws of Human Nature? No, but I really want to read that. I have read like a bunch of his other books, like 48 Laws of Power, 50th Law, Art of Seduction. But I actually bought that book, I think it's called The Laws of Human Nature, but I haven't read it yet. Christian says, I know, right? We have no business eating aquamarine life. 100% Christian. Invasion says, you vegan? 100% invasion. Um, TT says, "What is your opinion on watching porn?" I think it's good, TT. I mean, like I've said before, I can understand why guys might feel it's like detrimental to their dating because, like, you know, they're not motivated to like actually get out there. But I find it interesting, and I don't even actually watch like porn anymore. I used to, but now I like to listen to like audio erotica and like read stories and stuff mostly. But I think it's very good because I think it's um good for understanding what you like, what you're into, what your sexual interests are, what your true sexuality is. And I think that's very, very important. So it's very good to have your solo sexuality going on and like explore and understand your interests. Um, Still alive, thank you so much. When a girl says, "I'm still here, aren't I?" to the question, "Am I your type?" would you count that as a yes in your book? So you said, "Am I your type?" And then she said, "I'm still here, aren't I?" Would you count that as a yes? Yes, I would. So you're saying, "Am I your type?" And then she's saying, "I'm still here, aren't I?" Implying like if I wasn't your type, why would I still be here? Yeah. So it's a yes. It's a yes. It's a flirty yes. It's a coy yes. It's a good sign. She's kind of keeping the banter flowing, and she's kind of acting maybe a bit shy. All very good signs. Fantastic. What did you say still alive after she said, "I'm still here, aren't I?" Um, Praveen says, "I never knew they had audio erotica. Where do I find that?" Well, I can't let on Praveen because let's just say you might recognize somebody on there. So Jorn says, "Any vegan foods that are good aphrodisiac?" Um, that's a really good question. Hmm. So Bread says, "Oh, Still Alive says, good. I told her I counted it as a yes. It's fun flirting with her. Nice. Good one. Very good." So then Bread says, "So tomorrow I'm sleeping over at a friend's house and I'm wondering if we're cuddling, what's the likelihood of getting my first kiss?" It's more like platonic cuddle, though. I would say the likelihood is high, Bread. To just keep that tension up. I mean, if you know there's gonna be a platonic cuddle, then a platonic cuddle can very easily transition into a kiss. So I would say it's quite likely. Just try to like make the move. Maybe like put a hand like near her face or something, you know? Just to kind of edge it up just a tad and keep it just right on the borderline between platonic and not. So, Praveen says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry. Anyway, I love your videos and your channel. No, Praveen, you didn't pry at all. So then Listen Up says, I have a hair appointment tomorrow. I've been rocking long hair for 10 years or so, but I get no positive feedback, and bros slash sis say I should cut it short. What do you think about long hair? I'm actually nervous. Well, listen up. I kind of agree that cutting it short will be more universally appealing. I personally, long hair, like some girls like it for sure, but I feel like a lot of girls will find it kind of like more feminine. So I feel like you'll have wider appeal if you cut it. So, yeah, but I know it can be kind of like emotional cutting like long hair you've had for that long. So, yeah, but I feel like it will be more easy to get this positive feedback. So, Camden says, what does it mean if a girl only texts me when she's drinking? Um, I think it means that well, it can mean two things. One, she wants to hook up with you. Like she sees you as like good at sex or like good at something sexual, like maybe sexting. Um, and there's that. Or you could be a guy who she's kind of like on the border with, like kind of like, he's kind of like beta, but there's something about him I really like, like he's got something, but he kind of is like not in you know, he's not making the A grade, but like when she's drunk, she's kind of like, yeah, I don't like fuck it, I don't care. There's something about him I like anyway. So she kind of like loosens her standards and she's kind of like trying to bring this out of you. Like I had some guys like that where I'm like, I went on a date with them and they wouldn't make a move. And but I liked something about them, and I was just kinda confused why, and, like, later they would text me like, "Oh, I didn't know if you wanted you weren't giving me the green light and stuff, but I, like, really wanted to kiss you or something." But then, like, when I was drunk, I just enjoyed kinda, like, texting them and, like, messing with them because I felt like I could be more direct, and, I just kinda wanted to see where it went when I was drunk, you know? So, there's a range of possibilities, but those are a couple. Yeah, so Invasion, do you have any girl like that who acts like that with you? And thanks, Alexander. Nice. Yeah, like a lot of times, these guys, like, it's like they see that raw attractive power in you, but you're just kind of putting yourself in the friend zone. She's just like, oh, give me something. Kind of like that video I made about F Boy Island, where, you know, that guy Benedict, who was in the friend who she was trying to get out of the friend zone, he's her number 2 choice. He's hot. He's a comedian. He has an amazing body. He's funny, but she's just kind of like, "Bro, please, please just give me something. Like just be a little bit sexual, like be a little bit forward with me. Give me like a little bit of that F-boy edge." And he's just like, "No." And actually, I wanted to record, this next scene with him where she was trying to get him to open up even more, and, basically, she kept asking him like, "Oh, what are you into sexually?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't really know." And she's like, "Well, I'm really into lingerie and role play." And then she's like, "Have you ever role played before?" And he's like, "Oh, this one time I dressed up as a dog." Okay. And she's just like, "A dog?" Like, he's he's not giving her, you know what I mean? Like, he's acting like a sub, not a dom. So, there could be a dom in there somewhere, but you just don't really know how to be like a dom, and they're just kind of like, Please give me something. Please. You know? Still alive. Thank you so much. Another question. How do you feel about verbalizing consent for sex? Do you think this should be a common thing in the dating world now? Or is it better when consent is just implied? Fantastic question, still alive. I don't really know because I'm kind of like out of the dating scene now, so I feel like things have changed a lot. I feel like it's probably safest to get consent for sex, and I don't think that's going to like ruin the moment. You know what I mean? Um like if you've kind of like built up the heat up to the point where you're about to have sex, like I would ask. I would get verbal consent. Do you have to? I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Do you have to? But I think it's definitely safer, and I don't think it's gonna ruin the moment. For something like a kiss, I don't think you have to get verbal consent for that or verbal consent for, like, everything you do. But for actual sex, I think it is smart, to be honest. But it depends on how you do it. Because are you gonna just, like, stop everything and be like, "Wait," you can do it in kinda like a smooth, sexy way, but I do think it is smart, just in case, you know? Um Yeah, but, great question, still alive. I know this is, like, the question. What do you think? Since still alive says, "Yes, respecting boundaries and getting consent has gotten me farther than ever, thankfully. I think it is a net positive to verbalize it." Yeah, like, that's awesome, and that's really interesting too. And, like, personally, I absolutely, like, love talking in the bedroom. Like, that makes it so much better for me, to be honest. I really like it, and so if someone's, like, gonna ask for consent, I just basically gonna consider it all part of, like, the dirty talk. Do you know what I mean? So, it's not gonna ruin it for me. Obviously, there's, like, a obnoxious way to do it probably and a super smooth, amazing way to do it, but, yeah, like, I would just kinda try to keep the words flowing. Yeah, and I do think from a girl's perspective, she will appreciate it. Like, for example, for the kiss, some girls are maybe gonna just be like, "Bro, you can just kiss me," you know what I'm saying? But for actual sex, I do feel she will appreciate the fact that you've gotten to the point where she, like, wants it to happen probably, but just the fact that you're kind of, like, taking care of her a little bit by saying, like, "You know what? I'm a safe person, I'm here for you, and this is gonna be, like, mutually respectful." I do think it's good. I think they do appreciate it deep down. And then, like, the second time you have sex, you probably don't have to ask for consent. I mean, maybe you do, but it's just you're not always gonna have to ask for consent because it will just become obvious, like through body language and stuff. But the first time I do think it's really nice. So Decoder says my perspective is if she is there getting physical or kissing, that is consent. If she didn't, she wouldn't be there. Well, Decoder, I don't really agree with that at all because she might consent to kissing, but that doesn't mean she consents to sex because they're actually quite different experiences. And if um she might want to just come over to your place just to make out, just to kiss, it doesn't necessarily mean that she wants to have sex just because she comes over to your house, and to assume that is very bad and going to get you in trouble because it's just not true. And this is like a big mistake guys make because it's like they're kind of projecting from their perspective, like, well, if I went over to someone's house, like, yeah, I'd want to fuck, but it's not the same for girls. And when you like project your kind of like, you know, need for sex or desire for sex rather on a woman, it's not going to work out well. Like, um, I'm going to give you guys another example of it from a email. I'm not going to say um, who wrote this email to me, but it's an email I read earlier, and it's an example of this. Okay, the one about like you are the too hot to be on YouTube. So he said this. Okay, I saw you liked my sexual compliments, which I gave you during YouTube live chat, though you didn't admit it and ignored them. But still, I can see you like them a lot. Okay? That's like an example of a guy projecting. Like, I didn't like his sexual compliments, but he assumes, like, since he probably would love a sexual compliment, that I would. And just that assumption right there is very, very creepy. And so I want you guys to like avoid this creepy obstacle and never like assume that a girl wants sex just because in her position you would want sex, if that makes any sense, because that is one surefire way to come off as creepy. Okay, decoder. Yeah, like I understand what you're saying, that you've had a lot of dates that just flowed from kissing to sex without much talking, and that's fine. But yeah, it's probably just safest to verbalize something. So especially in this day and age, like I'm getting nonstop ads on my Facebook that's like, do you have anybody you want to accuse of like sexually assaulting you? It could be from like 20 years ago, it could be from 40 years ago. Like, please contact us, this law firm, and we will help you sue them. So you want to be careful. Um, so Alexander says, I never asked for consent, just go for it slowly. If she, like a snail emoji, if she went with you, then it's fine. About the dirty talk, it's amazing, especially in phone sex. Well, to be honest, I prefer Still Alive's approach, but um, Praveen says, I need to go to bed and have to be at work tomorrow. Hope to join your next late night live stream. Thank you again. Just hope I can fall asleep now. All right, good night, Praveen. Thanks for joining. Um, so Ted Barley asked a good question here. Can you go into detail about sexual storytelling? Okay, yeah. All right. Basically, some girls have fantasies, and if you can tell them a version of their fantasy, um, it is incredibly powerful. It is beyond incredibly powerful. And I kind of wondered, like, is this just me? Like, am I just, as I call it, story sexual? Am I just kind of like obsessed with like a plot? But I think that this is really common And this is ultimately what like kinks really are. They're like stories with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Um, and so if you can like tell somebody a story about their kink, you can blow their mind. You can make them go into maximum mental, physical arousal and maximum possibly intense orgasm. So it's extremely powerful. And I read this book recently, and it's called The Heart of Dominance by Anton Fullman. And he's like this lifelong pro dom. He writes books about dominance. He's really good. I really recommend this book. But he was talking about this as well. That this is like one of the main tools he uses, um, like in his sex life and in his like professional doming life. He will have people like tell him their fantasy, and then he will basically tell it back to them so that he gets like all the nuances, and they'll kind of like go back and forth, because once he fully gets like where the crucial critical points are, then he really understands what makes this person tick. And it's really true. Like everybody has these nuances which they just have to hear, and you have to like click, if you will. So yeah, that's really what holds the key to like maximum mental arousal. Hello, Andrew. And sorry I haven't responded to your email, Andrew, yet. I have to do that. Apologize for that, but it's great to see you here. Um, so then, yeah, Alexander, it's called The Heart of Dominance by Anton Bullman. It's good. So, oh, awesome. Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. This guy knows what he's talking about for sure. Um, one second. Okay. Yeah. So, are you BDSM? Not sure what that means. Do I like BDSM? Yeah. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna go too. But oh, Andrew, yeah, I'm familiar with this guy, Om Rupani. Oh my God. Um, very, very annoying to me. Yeah, I basically like to hate read his posts on Facebook. Um, it's kind of scary what he's doing, because he's got like all these spiritual women who've like I guess never really heard of kink before, and their like mind is blown when he's basically like, "You will submit to me and you will pay me like $10,000 for my special learn how to submit course." I'm like, "Really? Like you guys could go on FetLife and find a guy who will do it for free." But they're just like mind blown, and they're just so secretly repressed because they've been like so spiritual their whole life, I guess, and they've like never allowed themselves to like, you know, open their mind to anything like dark and kinky. And then this guy's like rebranding kink for like the spiritual tantra peeps, and he's kind of like really weird and like really insane. What do you think of him, Andrew? And I also noticed, like, in his posts, he just kinda, like, reuses a lot of, like, incel rhetoric or whatever, or, like, red pill rhetoric. So there's a lot of, like, bitterness and, like, hatred towards women. I'm like, a real dom doesn't, like, hate women. I don't know, but I feel like he just has a lot of these, like, really bitter, misogynistic attitudes. But, these women, they're, like, so desperate for a dom that they're just like, "Yeah, we'll take him." So you love him? Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, no. I have a pretty different take on him. What is it, Andrew? I'd like to hear. It's tough to type everything here. Yeah, yeah, no problem, but I'd be interested to hear. Um, yeah. Let me, like, see what this guy Omrupani is up to right now. Let's see what his, like, latest post is. Yeah, I notice he's very artistic. He likes to post just, like, photos from his Pinterest as well. Okay. Oh, no. He has a course for women, What Men Want. Like, how the hell is he getting these girls to take this course? I don't know. This is probably, like, very bad live etiquette for to do what I'm doing right now, but it's pretty interesting. Okay. And now I'm learning about what his kinks are as well. A woman in boy shorts, naked at the classroom doing, like, calculus or something. Um, okay. Alright. So Ted Barley says, "If you think he's cringe, check out the carbonation cult." Oh, wow. I'm scared. The carbonation cult, okay. Should I do it? Alright, I'm just gonna Google it right now. This is like I'm not gonna post this live, this is terrible live, but, um, okay. The carbonation cult. Oh, no, he's like an actual cult leader who's, like, sexually exploiting people. Shaking my head. So, yeah. So Alexander says, "I read about hypnotism and storytelling, but I feel like there's things we do before getting into the bedroom that will put the mind in that sex brain. The illusion of love and the illusion of love can make sex so fun." Interesting, interesting. Hmm. Kind of like a hypnosis kink, a little bit. I used to be pretty into that, but then I grew out of it because um, yeah. Um, Still Alive says, "How do you feel about the whole alpha beta male stuff?" Um, I kind of like it. Like, although I know it's like at first I just thought this is just obnoxious AF, like alpha, beta, it's just so ridiculous. But then it's like it's kinda convenient, isn't it? Because it's just some guys as my boyfriend once said, it's like the beta is just seeping off of them. You know what I mean? And then some guys, it's just the alpha is like strong within them. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's like kind of ridiculous. Like, it's not like you've got like alpha DNA or like beta DNA, but I just feel like you can kind of project like weakness and neediness, and or you can project kind of like calm strength and just like people admire you, you know? When you get into an elevator with a woman, press a higher number than her and then make a big deal about it. Oh god. Classic. So, yeah. Now I'm gonna. Oh, I really gotta go soon, but I'm gonna show you guys a TikTok or two, okay? Just because I'm bored. Um, I'm gonna ask you guys this, all right? This might be like really triggering to people, but I'm wondering if you guys ever feel this way, okay? All right, I'm gonna play you the TikTok and then you tell me like what you think, all right? So he says, when the drink starts tasting like I should go stand by that group of guys to make them feel short. Okay. So that's kind of like asserting dominance, am I right? But my question to you guys is, do you ever get that feeling of like intense, kind of like aggressive pride? Because I really do. And it's kind of like this weird feeling for me because in a lot of ways I just feel I'm kind of like I don't know if you guys would say I'm like humble or whatever, but I feel like I'm just like whatever, blah. But then sometimes I'll just get like a really intense feeling of like self-respect, dominance, alpha, like sexuality and pride. So I'm wondering, do you guys ever get that? Because like this guy's saying he just gets this like weird urge to just go stand by a group of guys to make them feel short. You know, it's just kind of like that toxic, like, I'm better. And it might come from absolutely nothing. Like you might have no reason to feel better. Do you know what I mean? You might have like nothing to justify it whatsoever, but you just like feel it. So I'm wondering, do any of you guys feel that? Because like sometimes like I will just really feel that sense of pride. And I feel like that's actually a really huge key to my true sexuality. So I'm wondering if anyone relates. Okay, so um Exhalavi says that's him being insecure. Well, he's actually like 6'8", I think, so I feel like it's probably not him being insecure, it's probably him just getting like this obnoxious feeling, but maybe you're right. Um so you say no, he's doing that to feel validated. Okay, interesting take, yeah. Invasion says, I know what you talking about though, lol. And then Andrew says, not me, but maybe that would be a good thing to bring out more. Um, Lil Me says, "I feel that whenever I get into a fight/argument, makes me not wanna back down." Yes, Lil Me, like, that's the feeling, isn't it? Like, I know what you mean, 'cause, like, I'll feel that too. It's like when the anger kicks in and you just start feeling, like, so superior. Um, so Say says, "Not me. I don't think about other guys like that." Listen Up says, "I end up getting too cocky around the women when I feel that sense, end up leaving my number and are getting no response." Okay, Listen Up, so you do sometimes feel that? Still Alive says, "I don't like it. I would never do that stuff." So then, Say La Vie says, "There's no reason he should feel the need if he is confident in himself." Mr. Magic says, "Personality disorder." Invasion says, "It's validation, but at the same time, everybody needs a certain amount of validation." Andre says, "Yup, it's the same as when you're at the gym and you purposely lift more than the other guy around." Okay, Andre, yeah, I don't lift anymore. So I don't know, but I will take your word for it. Yes, makes sense. Um, Mr. Magic says, "Adrenaline." Yeah. Well, I'll just tell you guys something which might be of use to you. That like when I saw this vibe, okay, that was like the vortex right there for me, if you know what I mean. Like it's just instantly like really attractive to me in like this really visceral way. Like as soon as I saw it, I just felt it. No explanation. So I do feel like don't suppress that in yourselves, guys, if you do feel it, because that's powerful, if you know what I mean. It's very powerful. That's like dominance in a nutshell. It's like that urge for dominance. So if you feel anything like that, don't feel bad. Go with it. So then Listen Up says, "Not around other guys, but more so my own confidence overwhelms me and I need female attention. I'm sure it comes off needy and I feel lame afterwards." Hmm. Well, I don't feel like that seems lame. Like, I understand that because, like, I feel like that urge in me is also kind of like I need male attention as well. So I think that makes sense. So that's one TikTok I found interesting because, like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, damn, that's powerful. And I don't know why, but it had like super visceral reaction to that. So, yeah. Now I'm going to show you another. All right. Good night, Andrew. Mr. Magic, that can get you killed. Um, nice. Now I'm going to show you guys another video where there's just like a flash of dominance, okay? Well, that video might have been deleted, so I guess I won't show it to you. But anyway, guys, I think I'll go to bed myself. Um, this was really fun though. Thank you guys, everyone who tipped me. Really appreciate it. And I'll just read this one. Alexander says it's powerful for you and it's powerful for us too. Like when a girl gets excited by our ego, we feel good. If she doesn't acknowledge it, we ignore or become aggressive. Interesting. So what do you mean if she doesn't acknowledge it? Like what would the situation be? I'm just curious. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. And I'll be back on again. So thanks for all your questions. And awesome talking with you guys tonight.